So we are going to go over how to flush an apheresis cone. So first, clean your hood and collect everything you'll need. So we have max buffer, we have our rack with our tube. You'll need a 50 ml conical tube labeled with whichever cone number this is. So we're on 107. You have your cone, you'll need scissors, and you will need a 10 ml syringe that we have here. You will also need 3 18 gauge needles for every cone, because you flush with air once, and then you flush with max, and then you flush with max again. You'll need 3 for every cone, 1 tube for every cone, max, and that should be it. So we're going to start by getting the cone out. Oh, you also need this diaper mat. It usually comes with the box itself, but we also have some here in lab. So we'll get our cone out, take the top off of our mat. You're going to start with the scissors. The cone will end up being like this on top of the tube here, but we need to cut the bottom first, and it's okay to cut the bottom. The blood will not start flowing out until you cut the top. So we're going to go ahead. I usually like to leave maybe ½ an inch. You don't want a ton of space, but enough that the blood can drain out. So see, I cut it there. Go ahead and put it in. And then I put the pieces in the biohazard bag that they give. Move this over. So then you cut the top. So I hold it, and again, I usually do ½ an inch. You don't want to cut it too close to the bottom here, because the syringe will not fit, or I'm sorry, the needle will not fit past this point here. So you want to have enough space for the needle to go in, but you can't jam it into the cone itself. So I usually do about that much. Put that in there. As you can see, you've got enough there, and the blood is already starting to flow out. So it'll hit the side of the walls, that's okay. So we'll get our syringe out. We'll go ahead and toss that. I'm going to move the bag to the other side and open up my max. I'll move the scissors to the other side since I don't need those anymore. Okay, so then you've got your needles. You also need a sharps box to put your needles in after, but I just set them on the mat until I'm finished. So I like to pop it out of the paper side, and then I push in on the syringe, pull out, you can toss that, and then you just want to pull the entire 10 to 12 mils with air. This will drain naturally, drop by drop, but it's just faster if you push air through it first. So we're just gonna push slowly, and it bubbled at the end there. Again, that's just pushing all the air out. And then this needle is now done. Can't put that in sterile max. So we'll get another one, and push in, pull out, toss. So now we're going to go into the max. Be careful not to touch the sides of the bottle, but we're going to pull out 10-ish mils. The whole goal is to make this cone essentially transparent at the end. You want all of the blood to be gone. So we've got about 11 or 12 mils in there. So again, push it in the top, far enough in here, but not all the way down. Again, it won't go that far down, but you don't want max to be pushing out of the top. So that's why you want to have enough space that your needle can go in just enough. And the trick here is to tilt the cone while you're pushing max through. So you have to go really slow. And so I'm going to start, and be sure that you have enough length at the bottom that you're not tilting outside of the cone. So I'm going to go ahead and start just slowly pushing through. And the reason we tilt is because we want to get all of the walls. There's all that blood on the walls. And I usually stop. So I've got 4.5 mils left. I'm going to stop. It's not really actively draining right now. Got 1 drop in there. Sometimes you got to be careful. It'll have a few drops. And you tilt it sideways, and I shake it. Because there's a lot of blood in there that's just going to get stuck unless you don't move it around. So I shake it. So now all of our walls are bloody again. We can put our syringe back in. We'll go through once more. Again, slow as possible. Just making sure you get all the walls. And then you will have a puddle kind of at the bottom here that doesn't drain. So I like to go back in with air. So with the same needle, you don't have to replace it. I just pull up about 5 or 6 mils of air and push out anything else. So we'll take that needle off. Last needle. You'll push off. We're going to do another 10 mils of max. So as you can see, the walls are pretty clear here, but we have some blood around the bottom. We want to get all of that if we can. So I'm going to go into the max again and pull up about 10 mils, 8 to 10. And then into the top. We're going to do the same thing, tilting it along the sides. We're going to stop a little bit earlier. So I'm going to stop at 7, because the only way really to get this blood along the bottom is to carefully shake it. So it's still draining here, so I'm going to let it do that. And then I'm going to tilt it up. I'm just going to shake it. Again, carefully keep an eye on that bottom part there so you don't lose any drops in this process. We're going to go back in. Again, tilt along the walls, along the walls. Get all of that out. It's pretty clear, but there's still some sitting at the bottom, so you're just going to go in with 8 to 10 mils of air, same needle. We're just going to push everything out. Still a little left. So again, once more with air, and that's pretty good. So you can toss your syringe. The cone is pretty clear. There's always going to be a little bit left in the bottom there, but that's okay. We got 99% of it out, so I put that into the biohazard bag, and then the biohazard bag into biohazard. So now you've got your needles that need to go in the sharp spin. You can put your cap back on your max. And you'll see if you lift up, I'll put the lid on it first. You'll see if you lift up, a lot of the blood has settled to the bottom here, and a lot of this is clear. I don't know if you can see. This is more max here. So we're gonna do the initial spin now, which is really gonna separate out the max from the cells that we want. So it's 2000 RPM for 15 minutes, break on. So that'll separate that out, and then we can actually take some of the max buffer off just so that our rosette works better when we add that in. So I will tighten that lid. Got donor 107 here. Put it in the centrifuge. Okay. So now, if you happened to spill any blood on your diaper, any drops or anything like that, I would usually toss it. However, I didn't spill anything. There weren't any loose drops or anything. Everything's clean. So I'm actually going to keep it here until cycle, just because it can still get bloody. But definitely toss it at this point. You can get rid of your scissors, put your needles in the sharps bin. Another super important tip, you're not supposed to recap needles. So the type of syringe I was using was not a twist, it was a push, so mine were pretty easy to just pull off. But do not put the cap back on the needle in order to pull the needle off. So that's kind of why I throw out the wrapper and the cap at the beginning. So not supposed to do that. But yeah, after the initial spin, we'll pull off some max, add the rosette for 15 to 20 minutes, and then cycle.